The afternoon sun washed over the runway as Flight 78 prepared for departure, and Captain Ryan Matthews conducted his routine checks with a practiced calm that came from 22 years of flying through storms, emergencies, and long, quiet nights above silent oceans. Today felt ordinary, almost peaceful, and that was exactly what unsettled him, because experience had taught him that danger rarely announced itself loudly. His co-pilot, Elena Brooks, sat beside him reviewing charts with focused eyes, masking the nerves she felt whenever flying alongside a legend. As passengers settled in, the aircraft hummed with life, unaware that within the next hour the sky would test them all in a way no simulator ever could. Takeoff was smooth, the climb steady, the crew relaxed, and Ryan briefly allowed himself to imagine returning home early enough to see his daughter's birthday candles flicker. Yet even in this calm moment, he felt something off in the rhythm of the engines. A faint vibration he tried to ignore because nothing on the instruments indicated a problem. But instincts stronger than data whispered otherwise. 30 minutes into the flight, turbulence shook the plane gently. Nothing alarming, just enough to jolt a baby awake and make a few passengers tighten their seatbelts. Elena adjusted their altitude slightly, and Ryan scanned the engine readings again, watching a small fluctuation in Engine 2's vibration levels. Before he could mention it, a sudden metallic bang echoed through the aircraft like a hammer against steel, and passengers gasped as the right engine flickered with smoke and then silence. The cockpit filled with warning alarms, screaming engine to failure. But Ryan's hands moved with veteran precision as he shut down the damaged engine and stabilized the plane. Losing one engine wasn't unusual and certainly not fatal. Yet a weight pressed on his chest because something about the failure felt wrong. He announced calmly to the passengers that they had experienced a technical issue, masking the rising tension in his voice as he requested priority landing from air traffic control. The cabin's atmosphere changed instantly as fear rippled quietly through the passengers. A mother clutched her daughter, a businessman pressed his palms together in silent prayer, and a teenage boy lowered his phone, the excitement on his face replaced with shaking uncertainty. Flight attendants moved swiftly down the aisle, reassuring passengers with practiced smiles and steady tones, though their eyes betrayed glimpses of fear. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Elena fought to maintain composure as Ryan gave her short, precise instructions, hoping structure would anchor her shaking breath. He guided the aircraft toward the nearest airport, but before they descended even 2,000 feet, another violent jolt slammed into the plane. The cockpit screens exploded back into red warnings as the left engine sputtered, coughed, and died. Tenjin, one failure now flashed beside the first. Both engines gone. The plane became a powerless giant gliding downward, toward whatever fate awaited them. Panic erupted inside the cabin as oxygen masks dropped and lights flickered. The aircraft shook like a leaf in a storm, each drop sending screams through the rows. Ryan fought the controls with every ounce of strength as Elena's voice cracked, reading emergency procedures that no pilot ever wanted to say out loud. They were losing altitude fast, too fast, and the coastline beneath them stretched like a jagged reminder of how little time they had. "We won't reach the main airport," Elena whispered, her voice trembling. Ryan calculated distances rapidly in his mind and confirmed her fear. Their only chance was a small emergency airstrip on a remote island barely visible through the thickening clouds. The conditions were terrible: crosswinds, heavy clouds, unstable altitude, and a runway far shorter than any commercial jet was meant to land on. Still, it was the only chance they had left. As the aircraft descended, Ryan felt the weight of 186 lives pressing against his shoulders. In the cabin, people prayed aloud, cried, and recorded farewell messages to loved ones. Flight attendants held hands with nervous passengers, offering the only comfort they could in those impossible moments. Elena wiped tears from her eyes, yet kept her hands on the controls, her determination slowly overpowering her fear as Ryan reminded her that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. The airstrip came into Ceta, thin grey line on a patch of green, and Ryan aligned the aircraft perfectly, fighting the winds that pushed against them like a giant trying to knock them from the sky. Hydraulic pressure dropped suddenly, making the controls heavy and slow, and when Ryan tried lowering the landing gear, nothing happened. He handed control to Elena while manually cranking the emergency gear, sweat dripping from his forehead as every turn stalled precious seconds. The runway approached too fast, too close, too unforgiving. Ryan seized the controls again just as the gear locked, and he pulled the aircraft into the perfect glide angle, whispering a silent prayer that the wheels would hold. The touchdown hit harder than any landing he had ever executed. Tires exploded instantly. Sparks showered the runway edges, and the plane screeched violently as metal ground against concrete. Elena braced herself, gripping her seat as the aircraft swerved dangerously left. Ryan fought with everything he had: left strength, instinct, experience, until the plane finally skidded to a brutal but life-saving stop, mere feet from the edge of the runway. Silence held the cabin for a moment before cries of relief broke through. Passengers poured out onto the runway, collapsing into tears, hugging strangers and thanking the heavens for another chance at life. Elena burst into sobs, her trembling replaced with overwhelming gratitude as she whispered to Ryan that she never thought she would make it. Ryan leaned back in his seat, exhausted, staring at the cracked windshield and the runway that had become their miracle. Hours later, investigators would confirm a rare dual-engine flameout caused by a massive hidden bird strike. But the survival of every soul on board was credited to Captain Ryan Matthews, whose courage and calm determination turned an impossible disaster into an unforgettable victory. And as he finally walked away from the plane with trembling legs, he whispered to himself that heroes aren't born in perfect skies, they are made when everything falls apart.